Hello and welcome to the Phoenix 5 Info Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Vince Lewis, coming to you as always from beautiful downtown Phoenix, as police headquarters, 7th Avenue in Washington. In case you want to stop by, say hi. With my host, co-host, PIO Sergeant.
Again, short sleeves, boss. We're going short sleeves.
Sure.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
It's word salad today. We'll get this right. It's very professional. I want to welcome our very special guest, Detective Phil Canchola.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. But the reason you're here is to talk about a very important connection that we, the department, have made with our community. The special groups that we've reached out to, some are underserved, some are underrepresented, but we want to make sure that we are available, receptive, self-reflective, self-corrected, and we get this input from the community. But sometimes it takes a little bit of effort to reach out to them because they themselves are organized, but we just need to make those connections, and that's where your group, your bureau, your detail comes into play. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so tell us about where you are, what you do.
We are the Community Response Squad. We're a part of the Community Engagement Bureau. We have a two-part type of position where one is we each liaison with our respective groups where we bridge the gap between the community and Phoenix Police. The second part is we deal in all of our First Amendment rights. So we deal with all the rallies, marches, vigils out there with the different groups that are, having demonstrations, and we provide assistance and prevent the civil disobedience and protect their First Amendment rights.
Perfect. So let's talk about that later. But first, I want to identify. So the groups are kind of divided up into chiefs advisory boards, is that right?
That is correct.
They're represented by groups of individuals who represent a larger congregation or a group of folks that they identify with, but they have the direct ear of the police chief and his executive staff. Working with you all?
Correct. So we have 12, the chief has 12 advisory boards. The cross disability, the Arab, the Muslim, refugee, African American, Hispanic, Jewish, LGBTQ, Asian, faith-based, Sikh, and the Native communities. So each of us have groups that we liaison with, build those relationships to build the trust up where they feel the need that anytime they need to reach out to us, they can come to us and we can assist them in addressing any issues or concerns within their communities.
How long have you been doing this, Phil?
Approximately 7 years with the Community Response Squad, but 21 years on the department.
Okay. In that 7 years, I imagine these turn into, with your groups, your whatever your assigned groups within that 12. How do you build those? Because it turns into a personal relationship, I imagine, with a lot of these leaders of those groups. How do you personally, and maybe it's different with those within your unit, but how do you build those relationships with them to where you're kind of the ally, you're that trusted source within the department where some of these groups may not have a ton of trust with law enforcement in general?
Well, I have the Arab, Muslim, and refugee communities. So many times when they reach out, as you start going and you start assisting them in their whatever they are needing, you start to just within conversation, within questions and asking what their needs are, what the culture is, understanding it. They see that you take an interest in learning, and with that, it's becomes very for them that, hey, as an officer, as a detective, I'm respecting their culture. I want to know more about it, and from that point on, they start opening up. And the more you start to build on that, it does turn into a friendship. It turns into very trusted community leaders that can reach out to me anytime, and in turn I can reach out to them anytime if we need any resources from them as well.
Does it branch off into you get invited to dinner or restaurants or those types of things? I can
Yes.
imagine the food is probably good when you have a diverse group like that brought together. You get to enjoy a lot of piece of their culture, a piece of their identification, right?
Absolutely. Sometimes it can put some weight on you, and, but no, absolutely. And Ramadan is coming up, so I think this is where I'm going to be gaining some weight, going to a lot of the fast-breaking components of Ramadan.
Yeah, excellent. So the groups, they give you feedback from their experience and what they would want us as a department to know. What's some of the things that they would like for us as a community to know?
They would like for us to know their culture, how they interact, as a community. And so when officers respond, they understand or they have an understanding of why they do certain things. Could be anything from talking close, or if they're speaking in a loud tone, it doesn't mean they're being aggressive. It's just how they speak to, in general. It could be just even culture between male and female. When to shake hands, when not to. So it's understanding their culture, and so we can incorporate into our daily duties as police officers.
So Lieutenant brought up these advisory boards, and I know I'm not sure scheduling on that, so you'll have to enlighten even me in this. But how these advisory boards? I know we have these 12 groups. What are the purpose of these boards? How often are they scheduled? Who attends these? Like, what's the goal at the end of these? For those who attend.
So as far as meetings, we are scheduled to meet 4 times a year. But as I always tell my board members, when we come to these meetings, it's going to be about what we've accomplished. Anything between that time, they should be reaching out to me. I'll be reaching out to them. And it's about addressing those issues, addressing the concerns, building that. So when we get to these meetings, it's, hey, this is what we've accomplished. This is how we've built more of the trust within the community. And this is what we need to do to move forward. And it could be anything with critical incidents that occur. Sometimes we have officer-involved shootings within certain communities, and the community members are able to come to us because, unfortunately, with social media and misinformation, they will come to us. We give them the information that we can so they can dispel that within the community. And it's very transparent. I mean, when we've done wrong, we tell them to tell us when we've done wrong. When we've done right, tell us when we've done right. So, I mean, the purpose of this is to again, bridge that gap between the community and law enforcement so we can work together to build that relationship, to work in or to live amongst each other, and to work efficiently.
Yeah, one of the things I remember is that when we reached out to strengthen a relationship between the department and an underrepresented group, we started receiving what appeared to be a spike in reporting from that group. But I think maybe you can speak to this. What happened was, as that relationship strengthens, they become more comfortable with reporting, and that might help with the data or help us understand that rise. Do you have anything to add to that?
Yes, absolutely. So many depending on which group we're looking at, for instance, the refugee, many of them have come from countries where law enforcement is not your friend. Very corrupt, very different way. So when they come here and they see the uniform, all they know is what they dealt with. So they're very closed off. They're don't want to deal with the law enforcement. They're here to hurt us. So we shatter those barriers and let them know that we don't work that way. We are a different country. We are here for everybody, and we build that back up so they can understand that, hey, you can trust us. You reach out to us when you need to, because if you reach out to us, we can provide that help for you to be able to resolve whatever issue you have. So we are here for you.
Perfect. We're talking with Detective Phil Canchola from the Community Response Squad. Part of your duties, in addition to the advisory boards, is interacting with organized or even groups of unorganized individuals who are just looking to exercise their First Amendment rights. And we put you out there in plain clothes to interface with the organizers, kind of put them at ease and help them plan basically how to demonstrate in a safe manner that is lawful and according to their plan to still get their message across. What has been your experience in dealing with organizers or even unorganized groups who want to express their exercise their First Amendment rights?
I think it builds that sense of safety for them because they know they can trust us to help them organize marching routes, help organize, where they should be, where they can stand without committing any civil disobedience. There's even groups that are anti-police groups that have built relationships with in the past, where even though they may be against us, they also know the job we do. And they would reach out to us to say, hey, we're going to be here. Can you assist us in this route? Or, hey, we have a planned civil disobedience. Can you assist us in this? So we go to them, ask them, well, what's your plans? We're going to take the street. We have 7 people that are going to be arrested. So we take all the information, we send it up the chain so everybody's apprised of the information. So they get their message out. They commit their civil disobedience, but in a safe manner where no one's injured and everybody goes home safely at the end of the day.
Yeah, such an important element of our department that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, to be honest, even those within the department, unless you're kind of subject to what you guys, and it wasn't really until I got into this spot where I was able to see you guys in action and see how important you guys are in those moments of being able to keep the peace, if you will, allow people to exercise their rights in a demonstration while also keeping everybody safe, in that world. And it really is a lot of times at the beginning and a lot of times throughout the whole thing, it's you guys out there, standing, advising, and those relationships you build are a huge point of that. You personally, how has it been with you? It kind of struck me when you're kind of looking into these groups that you kind of oversee and you build those relationships, getting into those cultures, getting into that. Anything that was surprising about going through those that you personally were like, wow, that's enlightening. I would have never thought that, or where I imagine a lot of it was kind of a learning experience.
I think it's always very enlightening for me to learn new cultures, and I absolutely enjoy it. So for me, it's embracing it and being able to experience, at different levels of their culture and understand it, which gives me that knowledge to be able to assist other officers that are out in the street who may not know how to deal with a certain situation. But there's so many different areas where you're always enlightened and you're just amazed, especially from depending on where they came from a different country that they've experienced a negative effects from law enforcement to here. And it's just hearing the stories are amazing to go, wow, they're thankful that they are in the United States and that they're being able to exercise their rights.
Perfect. So as we start to wrap up, we recently held some meetings with the representatives from the Chiefs Advisory Boards. Detective, tell us can you wrap up what we've learned from those meetings? And do we learn anything? What was said?
From this last meeting we just recently had with the chiefs, it was more of the chief asking them to, hey, give me any questions that you want to know, that you want to feel, that or maybe that you need answered, and I'm willing to answer. What it came down to is general community safety, understanding that regardless of what's going on in any conflict outside of the country, that the police department's not going to treat them any differently, and that we're going to continue to build on our relationships and provide some of these new arrival refugee communities that we have with assimilation resources for law enforcement, what to do when stopped by police, domestic violence, child crimes, 911 versus non-emergency, and provide those types of resources to them so they can assimilate well into the U.S.
Excellent. So I want to thank you, Detective, for showing up, Detective Phil Canchola from the Community Response Squad, talking about our advisory boards and a little bit of how we protect First Amendment exercisers. So thank you for joining us.
I appreciate it.
I want to thank my co-host, Sarge.
Thank you, boss. Thank you. Always good to be here. Enlightening 14 minutes. It's been great.
Excellent. Find out more about Detective Canchola's unit and what they do by visiting phoenix.gov/police. And as always, you can help fight crime in your community by sending tips to Silent Witness. Visit silentwitness.org or call 480-WITNESS. Or you can call in Spanish, 480-TESTIGO.
Testigo, yes. That'll get in.
Follow us on all social media platforms. We're on all of them. Check out joinphxpd.com. We're hiring. And just remember, we're all in this together.